What's up, guys? It's Solo back with a video here on Solo Hoops. Now today I'm going to be ranking the top 100 NBA players from this NBA season. So this list has to do with what they've accomplished and done this season. It doesn't have to do with what they did last year, if they were an MVP last year, a DPOY last year, or if they won a championship 5 years ago. We don't care about none of that. This list is about this season and how that these players have impacted winning. Also, if a player has missed multiple games or like maybe half the season, they'll be bumped down the rankings significantly. This list isn't just about counting stats. It's not about who scored the most points. It's about offense and defense, efficiency, and how their team has performed. This is a video I've been planning out for days. If you guys are new, make sure to sub up. We're about to hit 800 subscribers. Before we jump into the top 100, real quick, I want to say Ja Morant has only played 5 games, so he will not be in the rankings, and same with Bradley Beal, who's only played 7. My number 100 player in the NBA this year is Malik Monk. He's on one of the best teams in the West. The Kings are 18-12. He's putting up 14, 3, and 5 on really solid efficiency. My 99th player is a player that debatably shouldn't even be on the list, but I've liked what I've seen from him this year. He's shooting really good at 40.8% from 3. He's gonna give you good defense. His numbers aren't the best at basically 14 points per game, 4 boards per game, and 2 assists per game, but he's shooting good. He's playing solid defense. He's my 99th player. We got Dylan Brooks. The 98th player is Jalen Green, a player that I thought was going to take a bigger step forward this year. He really didn't do that, so I almost didn't put him on the list, but he's putting up 17, 4, and 3 on okay efficiencies. I think last night he had a 35-point game. If he didn't have that, he might not have cracked the top 100, to be honest, because this year for him has not been the best. My 97th player is Cameron Johnson, who's been solid on both sides of the ball, putting up 15, 5, and 3 with really solid efficiency. My 96th best player is Ivica Zubac, who's been very solid for one of the best teams in the league. As crazy as it is to say, the Clippers are, I believe, 19-12. They're going to be a contender, you know, when it comes to the playoffs, and Zubac has been solid. My 95th best player is our first rookie of the video, a player that's been really solid offensively and defensively. He gives 110% effort. You guys see his numbers: 14, 4, and 3 with actually really good efficiency, especially for a rookie. I think he's going to have a great career. My 94th best player is a player that I like a lot. We got Jabari Smith Jr. I think he is unfortunately going to be sidelined a few weeks, but he's been solid this year. The Rockets are overperforming, and he's been a pretty, solid part in why they're doing so good. My 93rd best player is Keegan Murray, who's putting up 15.5 points per game, 5 boards, and 2 assists on okay shooting numbers. He's a really good 3-point shooter. I think that 3-point percentage can go up. It's about 36%. He's a player that I think the Kings, they have to put him in the corner because that's how they run offense with Fox and Sabonis. But he's a player that really should be utilized more in the offense. He's a player that I can have a really good career. And if next year or down the line he starts getting more usage in whatever offense he's in, I think he is really going to break out. At number 92, I have a player that maybe shouldn't even be on the list. We have Bojan Bogdanovic. He's only played 12 games played. As you guys can see right here is the games played for all of the players. So maybe he shouldn't be on the list. The Pistons haven't won since before Halloween, so he hasn't won a game this year. Maybe he shouldn't be on the list, but he is a very solid NBA player. He's, rumored to be traded, so we'll see what happens with that. But he's putting up about 20 points per game on decent, actually pretty good efficiency. 91st best player is going to be Colin Sexton, a player that stepped up big time for the Jazz, who, have been dealing with some injuries, and he's just been really solid. The numbers don't really do him justice because since he's been starting, they've been way better than this. He's putting up 16 points per game, 3 boards, and 4 assists on okay efficiency. My 90th best player is a player that's definitely weird to rank. We have DeAndre Ayton, who's putting up 13 and basically 11. He's missed a few games this year. The Trailblazers are like 9-22. It's just hard to put him much higher on this list. You could debate it, but he's just a weird one to rank. My 89th best player is his teammate. We have Malcolm Brogdon, who's putting up 16 points per game, 4 boards, and 6 assists on really good efficiency. He's another player that's missed some games, and also the Trailblazers aren't winning much. As I said, winning matters when it comes to these rankings. My 88th best player in the NBA is Jalen Johnson, a player who's really broken out this year. He's putting up 14, basically 8 boards per game, 3 assists on really good efficiencies. He's been huge for the Hawks. He did go down with an injury earlier this year, so he has missed some games, but I feel like it would be messed up to not have him on the top 100. Knicks fans are probably going to hate me for this one. At number 87, I have RJ Barrett, who's another player kind of like Jalen Green, who we talked about earlier, who I've been kind of waiting for to take that step forward and put up better numbers, play better. He's averaging 18, 4, and 2 on really not the best efficiency. At number 86, I have Yusuf Nurkic, who's been pretty good for the Suns this year. I think he's missed 2 games. He's putting up 12 110. At number 85, I have kind of a weird one. The Jazz don't play Walker Kessler as much as they probably should, but Kessler is one of the best rim protectors in the entire NBA. He's putting up 9 and 8, so not the best counting stats, but defensively, he's really good. My 84th best player is going to be Mark Williams, who's put up 13 and 10, been solid defensively as well, and he's really played solid this year. He's only played 19 games, so maybe he could be even lower on this list, but this is where I had him. I made this list like a week ago. Maybe I should have bumped him a little lower, maybe closer to 90. But you guys can see his player efficiency rating is 22.2, which is really good. And yeah, he's just been solid for the Hornets this year. We have another tough player to rank. At number 83, I have OG Anunoby, who plays really good defense. Offensively, he's been solid this year, putting up 15, 4, and 3 on what I would say is solid shooting efficiencies for him. His free throw numbers, 71%. That's pretty bad, but for him, he's not known to be a great shooter. This is okay for him. Tough player to rank. Originally had him, in like the 60s, but I did have to bump him down after I looked more into it. Now we really have one of the toughest players to rank. At number 82, I have Cam Thomas. If I made this video a week ago when I first made this list, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, Cam was in like the top 50 or like in that range. But now the Nets are bringing him off the bench. His numbers are starting to drop. He's a player that really only plays offense. He doesn't really bring much defensively or really anything else at all. He's just like a shot creator, putting up 22.5 points per game on okay efficiency. I got Cam at number 82. At number 81, I have a player that maybe should be closer to 90. We have Jalen Duren, one of the best young centers in the NBA. And the reason I say maybe he should be closer to 90 is because he's missed half the season, which is kind of bad when we're ranking players like this. He's put up 13 points per game, 11.5 boards per game, and he's solid defensively. My number 80 player is Chris Middleton from the Bucks. He started very slow. He was on kind of a minutes restriction, so these numbers don't really do him justice because they've picked up over the last few weeks, but he's putting up 14 points per game, 5 boards, 5 assists on solid shooting numbers. Now we're in the top 80. We have number 79, Zach LaVine. He's a player that should definitely be higher, but he's missed pretty much half the season for the Bulls. He hasn't brought much defensively. And again, this list has to do with how have you impacted your team on winning? And he hasn't really been there for his, obviously he's injured and he can't control that. But for this season, he has been like the 79th best player. Maybe you could put him a little higher, closer to 70, but you can't put him much higher than that. LaVine, 21 points per game, 5 boards, 3 assists on not the best efficiency. He hasn't been great. At number 78, I have Tobias Harris, a player who's really been up and down this year. He's had like really good stretches of games, and then he's also had some really bad stretches. So yeah, I think 78 is a fine spot for Tobias. Lakers fans really aren't gonna like this, but I have Austin Reeves at 77. I know some of you guys probably think he's like a top 50 player, maybe top 60, but this year he hasn't been the best. Lately, he's been a little bit better. Lakers been bringing him off the bench, but he's putting up 15, 5 and 5 on solid shooting numbers. He's okay on defense. I don't know. It's hard to put him much higher than this. At number 76, and Lakers fans are really going to hate this, I have Klay Thompson 1 spot above Reeves. Let's not be casuals. Let's not be dumb. Klay is one of the best shooters in the NBA. I know he started really bad, but he's been turning it around recently. He's averaging 17 points per game, 4 boards, 2 assists on really good shooting numbers. I mean, for him, they're a little bit down, but for the NBA, it's above average. It's good. At 75, we have a player that I didn't really think would be top 100 coming into this year, but Bogdan Bogdanovic has been great for the Hawks, averaging about 18 points per game, 3 boards, 3 assists on really good shooting numbers. He's almost 50, 40, 90. Well, the field goes a little low, but he's just been efficient this year. At number 74, I have a player that you guys might say is a little too high on my rankings. He's a player that's been climbing my rankings lately. Daniel Gafford, averaging 11 points per game, basically 8 boards, solid efficiency, and he's really good defensively. He's gonna get a ton of blocks. He's just a solid player on a really bad Wizards team. We kind of have a similar player at number 73 in Nick Claxton. Again, another really good defensive player. Nick is averaging 12 points per game, 10 boards, and again, on not the best of basketball teams with the Nets. We have a little grouping of bigs right here in the rankings. We have Jarrett Allen at number 72. I think he's been safely better than Claxton and Gafford. He's been really hot lately, so I mean, there's even a case to put him even higher, closer to 60, but Allen averaging 14 points per game, 9 boards per game, and he's okay defensively. I have Valanciunas at number 71. The Pelicans, I believe, are 18 and 14, so they've been good, and I don't think he's missed a game. Played 32, averaging basically 15 points per game and 10 boards. He's just been really solid this year. Just cracking the top 70, we have Miles Bridges, who missed some games this year. I think he probably missed like 12 or 13 games. He's averaging 19 points per game, 7 boards on not the best efficiency, especially from 3, but Bridges is solid. I think he deserves a spot in the top 70. At the number 69 spot, I think we have a player that's very overlooked in today's NBA. He's on a team that doesn't get a lot of looks. I mean, all the hype's around Wemby on the Spurs, but Devin Vassell's been solid, averaging over 18 points per game, 3 boards, 3 assists on solid efficiency. At number 68, I have one of the players that plays their role the best in the NBA for one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NBA. We got MPJ, who's putting up 16 points per game, almost 8 boards. He doesn't pass, so we don't got to talk about his assists, and he is shooting really good from the 3, bad from the line at 75. 67, I have another Spur who's pretty overlooked. We got Keldon Johnson, who's averaging basically 18 points per game, 6 boards, 4 assists on okay efficiency, not the best. At 66, we have another Nugget. We have Aaron Gordon, another player who's on this Nuggets team that plays their role very well. He's not putting up the best of counting stats with only 14 points per game, 7 boards, not the best efficiency, but he's really good defensively. He takes a lot of the big defensive matchups for the Nuggets. At number 65, we got a player that has a ton of potential. We have J-Dub, Jalen Williams, who's putting up 18, 4, and 4 this year on really good efficiency. I mean, you could even argue he should be closer to 60. At 64, we have a player that I wanted to put in the top 40. I had him up there originally, but he's missed a lot of time. He's only played 13 games, so you could debate he should be even lower on the list if you really want to. But Tyler Hero's been insane this year, averaging almost 25 points per game, 6 boards, 4 assists on insane shooting efficiencies. Tyler Hero at times looks like the go-to guy for the Miami Heat. I know they have Jimmy Butler, they got Bam, but Tyler Hero's been crazy in the games that he's played. At 63, we have another one of those players lumped in there with Tyler Hero in their rankings who hasn't played a lot of games. Anthony Simons has only played 11, but in those 11 games, he's been insane. He's averaging 27 points per game, 3 boards, 5 assists on, again, insane shooting efficiency. It's tough to rank Simons. It's tough to rank Hero when they've only played 11 and 13 games. At 62, we have Anthony's teammate, Jeremy Grant, who has just played more games than him. I think he's played 16 more games. So he's definitely impacted winning more than Anthony because Anthony just hasn't been there. He's putting up 22.5. I mean, we know Jeremy Grant. He's a great, solid offensive player. Defensively, not going to give you much. At number 61, we have Brook Lopez, who doesn't put up the best counting numbers. You guys can see he's putting up basically 13 points per game, 5 boards on not the best efficiency, nothing crazy, but what he does for this Bucks team is crucial, and he's very good defensively. I think he's top 3 in odds for DPOY this year, so it doesn't really show up on the numbers. He's a great defensive player and just a great player for this Bucks team to space the floor out with Giannis. I got him at 61. Just cracking the top 60 for this weird Bulls team. We have Nikola Vucevic, who's putting up basically 17 points per game, 10 rebounds per game. I think he's now dealing with an injury, so hopefully, you know, he gets well soon, but Vucevic has been really solid this year. Number 59, I have a guy that if you're a casual, if you haven't been watching the sport, you'd probably be having a double take at the screen right now and saying, what is Solo talking about? We have Kobe White, who's been huge for this Bulls team since they've been having some injuries. Kobe White's now starting every single game. They had injuries to, you know, Caruso, Levine. Kobe White is huge for this Bulls team. You could argue that he's maybe the best he's not, but it's close. You could have the argument he's been playing great, putting up 18 points per game, 4 boards, 5 assists on insane shooting numbers. I have Kyle Kuzma at number 58. He's just a weird player to rank. He's been solid, 22.6 points per game, 6 boards, 4 assists on okay shooting numbers for a very bad Wizards team. Melo Ball is a guy that would be top 25 if he was healthy, but he's already missed more than half the season. He did put up 25, 5, and 8 on really good shooting numbers when he was playing, so it's hard to put him any lower than this, but we got him at 57. Again, if he was playing, he'd probably be top 25, maybe even top 20. One spot ahead of him at 56, we have his teammate Terry Rozier, who's actually been playing really good this year. He's averaging 24 points per game, 4 boards, 7 assists on good shooting numbers. At 55, I have Darius Garland, who I could probably put behind Terry Rozier, but we have Garland, who's only played 20 games. He would be higher up, you know, closer to 1. Well, probably in the, 30-40 range if he was healthier, but he's missed a lot of games, putting up 21 points per game, 6 assists on okay shooting numbers. At 54, we have his teammate, who I'm very high on, but he's also missed about 10 games, and he's going to continue to miss games. I think he's going to be out for like 1 to 2 more months. Evan Mobley's put up 16, 11, and 3 assists. Not the best shooting numbers, but he's been really good defensively for this Cavs team when he's been out there. At 53, we got Drew Holiday, who's kind of taken a lesser role with his new team with the Boston Celtics, who are, by the way, the best team in the NBA right now, at least when you go off record. So he's definitely impacting winning. He's one of their best defenders, one of their best players, averaging 13, 7 boards, 5 assists on really good shooting numbers. Although he's not having like the highest of usage, he's finding a way to impact winning on the defensive side of the ball. And when he does get the ball, you guys see he has really good efficiencies. He's even getting some rebounds this season. 52, we have Miles Turner, who's been really good for the Pacers this year, averaging 17, 7, and he's solid defensively. Just missing out on the top 50, we have Kristaps, who's averaging 27, and he doesn't get any assists. He's also solid defensively, but he's missed about 10 games this year. Getting the top 50 started, we have Rudy Gobert, who doesn't put up the craziest of counting numbers. He's averaging 13 points per game, 12 rebounds is kind of crazy, but he is one of, if not the best defensive players in the NBA. I think he's first in odds for DPOY. If not, he's second or third. Rudy's been really good this year for the Timberwolves, who are the #1 team in the West. So I don't think it's crazy to say Rudy's top 50. You could maybe even have him higher, maybe in the 40s. Number 49, I have one of the best young players in the NBA. We have Franz Wagner, who's averaging 21, 6, and 4 on okay, really not the best efficiency, especially not from 3. But the Magic are, I think, 18 or 19 and 12. They're overperforming and they are exceeding expectations for most people, especially me. And Franz Wagner is a big part of that. At 48, we have DeJounte Murray, who's being rumored to be traded potentially. He's been kind of having just a low-key season. 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on solid efficiency, and he's really good, or solid at defense. At 47, we have a guy that I feel like is really underperforming this season. Jaren Jackson Jr. is averaging 21 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, no assists really, on okay shooting numbers. And I mean underperforming because Ja was out. We needed him to step up, and I don't know if he really did that as much as I expected him to. And he's solid defensively too, so you got to factor that in. I have him at 47. 46, we have the one constant for the Chicago Bulls this year, DeMar DeRozan, who's averaging 22, 4, and 5 on solid efficiency. At number 45, we have CJ McCollum, who's been playing great this year. He has missed 10 games. So you could probably put him in the 50s now that I'm really looking at this, but he's been insane, averaging 20, 4, and 5 on really good shooting efficiencies. And I think these numbers have even dropped a little bit. Like a week ago, his efficiencies were even better. 44, I have Kyrie Irving, who's a player that would probably be top 25 if he was healthy, but he's missed half the year. But when he did play, he was putting up 23, 4, and 5 on good efficiency. So a tough one to rank because he's missed like half the season, but I think 44 is a fair spot. This might make some people mad. We have Cade Cunningham at number 43. The Pistons haven't won since before Halloween, but Cade Cunningham has been kind of just their best player outside of like Jalen Duren, who also hasn't been healthy. You got Bojan, but yeah, Cade's their best player, putting up 23, 4, and 7. I wouldn't really say it's his fault, but he's been there every single game putting up solid numbers, so I got him at 43. At 42, we have the guy who really did step up when Ja was gone, Desmond Bane, averaging 25 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on really good shooting numbers. You could even say he could be in the 30s of these rankings, but there's just so many good NBA players in the league. At 41, I have Paolo Banchero, who got a slight bump up the rankings for me just because of how good the Magic have been, and he's been kind of that leader, that #1 option for them. Paolo putting up 22, 7, 5, and on okay shooting numbers. He's shooting below 70% from the line, which is just not good, but Paolo has been leading that Magic team to a great start to the season. Barely cracking the top 40, we have Fred VanVleet. Now we have the guys that are really having like elite seasons. Fred putting up 17, 4, and almost 9 assists per game on okay, actually solid efficiency. His field goal percentage is kind of low, but as a passer, Fred has taken a big jump for me, at least this season. If you watch the Rockets play, he's been great for them. At number 39, we have Brandon Ingram, who's been really solid this year, averaging 23, 5, and 5 for the Pelicans. At number 38, we have Mikal Bridges, who in my opinion has been playing pretty bad this year. I feel like this ranking is a little generous for him. He's putting up 21, 5, and 4 on okay shooting numbers, but lately he's been just so cold, has not been playing good, but he's going to give you good defense. The Nets are kind of a weird team. They've been playing with his minutes. Some games his minutes will drop down low, but yeah, this is kind of a generous ranking for him. He could be in the 40s, but we have Bridges at 38. At 37, we have a player with superstar potential who I feel like could be playing better this year. Zion put up 22, 6, and 5 on okay shooting numbers. The Pelicans have kind of been playing with his minutes a little bit. It was kind of weird to start the year. He wasn't playing as many minutes as he could. But yeah, I got Zion at 37. And I don't know if it's crazy to say, but Derek White has been having a better season than Zion Williamson. I mean, that statement alone is insane, but we got Derek White at number 36. If you've been watching basketball, Derek White has been impacting the Celtics and impacting winning in a crazy way. He's one of the best defenders, especially guard defenders in the entire NBA. If you look at defensive metrics, he's top 10 in a ton of them, putting up 17 points per game, 4 boards, 5 assists on insane shooting numbers. He's almost 50, 40, 90. Derek White, a player no one really expected to be this good, is inside of my top 40 this season. At 35, I have Jamal Murray, who I kind of want to put lower, but it's just tough to. Like, it's Jamal Murray. He's been really good when he's been on the floor, but he has missed like 10 games, averaging 19, 4, and 6 on really good shooting numbers. At 34, we have Spicy P. Pascal Siakam, who might get traded this year, by the way, but he's just been solid. He started a little slow, starting to pick it up now, played in pretty much every single game. Maybe he missed one, but he's putting up 22 points per game, 7 boards, 5 assists. He's just been solid. At 33, we have a player that's been huge for the New York Knicks, Julius Randle, averaging 23 points per game, basically 10 boards and 5 assists. He's got that assist number up. He is shooting pretty bad from the 3. He thinks he's one of the best 3-point shooting bigs in the league. I don't really think so. I want to see him drive more, stop shooting as many threes, but Randle's been really good. I got him at number 33. At number 32, we have only the second rookie in the entire rankings. We had Jaime Jaquez earlier. 32, we have Chet, who's putting up 18, 8, and 3 assists on good shooting numbers. He's also really good defensively. There's only one other rookie, which we're about to talk about. I got Chet as the second best rookie. I know he's number 1 in rookie of the year odds, but I disagree. At 31, we have a player who's just solid on both sides of the ball, Jaylen Brown. I struggled to put him above Derek White, but I think you kind of have to. I don't know. It's tough. Jaylen Brown's been solid, 23 points per game, 5 boards, 4 assists on okay shooting numbers. Cracking the top 30, we have Lauri Markkanen, who has missed like 10-ish games, but he's been really good when he has played. Hasn't impacted winning that great, but his numbers are really good. 24, 9, and about 2. He's another player that doesn't really pass, but he also has great shooting efficiency. He's another player that might get traded. He's on a really bad team, but he's a really good player. At 29 is where I have the best rookie, at least in the league, in my opinion, Victor Wembanyama. When you compare him to Chet, I think he does pretty much everything better. I think he's a better scorer, a better rebounder, a better defender. I would give Chet the edge with shooting as of right now. That's about it for me. Wemby putting up 19, 10, and 3, and he's averaging like over 3 blocks per game. Alperen Sengun is the 28th best player in the NBA, averaging 21 points per game, 9 boards, 5 assists on okay shooting numbers. He is a major reason as to why the Rockets are in the play-in picture right now. Now we're getting into those all-star caliber players. At number 27, we have James Harden, who started off slow. Well, he actually probably missed a few games because of the whole situation, but he started off slow for the Clippers, but now he's been absolutely red hot, almost back into that prime Harden mode. He's averaging 18 points per game, 5 boards, 8 assists on insane shooting numbers for the Clippers. At number 26, we have Jimmy Butler, who's missed like 7 or 8 games this year, averaging 22 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on solid shooting numbers, and he's one of the best defenders in the NBA. At number 25, we have Bam Adebayo, who I have 1 spot above Jimmy Butler. He has missed 2 more games than Jimmy, but I just feel like Bam's impact has been greater than Jimmy's. Bam is just such a good defender, a depoy caliber player, and his scoring has been crazy. His rebounding has been crazy. You guys see the numbers, 22 points per game, 10 boards. He's just been insane when he's been on the floor this year for the Heat. At 24, we have Karl-Anthony Towns, who's having a crazy year, 22 points per game, 9 boards, 3 assists on insane shooting numbers. He's almost 50, 40, 90, and he's a center. He's one of, if not the best shooting bigs ever. Number 23 of Paul George, who's just been having a low-key, really solid season. He hasn't really missed much games, maybe 2. He's averaging 23 points per game, 6 boards, 4 assists on really good shooting numbers. He is also almost 50, 40, 90. He's gonna give you solid defense. He's just been so solid for the Clippers, who again, I think are like 19 and 12 right now. At 22, I have one of the best young players in the NBA. Scotty Barnes has been crazy this season for the Toronto Raptors, averaging 21, almost 10 boards a game with 6 assists on solid shooting numbers, and he's been good defensively. 21, we have one of the best bigs in the entire NBA, Domantas Sabonis, who's averaging 20 points per game, 12 boards, 7 assists on good shooting numbers. You could argue he could be a little higher, but there's just so much good players in the NBA that I feel like you can't really be mad at this ranking. Let's crack in the top 20. I have Damian Lillard, who's played in pretty much every game. Maybe he's missed 1, putting up 26 points per game, 4 boards, 7 assists on good shooting numbers, and I think these numbers were a little bit better, but in the past week I think they dropped because I think his 3-point percentage was closer to 40. Now he's at 37. At number 19 we have Tyrese Maxey, a player that if you were to tell me would be top 20 players in the NBA this season coming into the year, I'd be like, that's a little crazy, but he's been huge alongside Joel Embiid with the departure of Harden, averaging 26 points per game, 4 boards, and basically 7 assists on really good shooting numbers. You could argue he could be a few spots higher on the list, you know, 18 or 17, maybe 16, but again, there's just so many good players in the NBA, it's tough to put him any higher. At 18, one spot above Maxey, I have Jalen Brunson. I feel like they're kind of interchangeable. If you want to put Maxey above Brunson, I wouldn't be mad at it, but Brunson has been having an insane season for the next 26 points per game, 4 boards, 6 assists on insane efficiency. At number 17, I have Donovan Mitchell, who's averaging 28 points per game, 6 boards, 6 assists on okay efficiency. And I feel like this season his defense has gotten a lot better. He's been getting a lot of steals. I know steals aren't the biggest of defensive metrics, but I feel like he's been playing solid defense this year, which, you know, he hasn't been known for most of his career. At 16, I have Devin Booker. A reason why he's not higher is because he's missed some games. He's missed like 10 games this season, averaging 27, 5 and 8 on really good shooting numbers. Just inside the top 15, we have Trae Young, who I think is having the best season of his career, averaging 28 points per game, 3 boards, 11.2 assists per game. I think that's second in the NBA on insane shooting numbers. He's shooting 38% from 3. Usually you could see his career 35% 3-point shooter, so that number's up. His efficiencies are solid, and he just makes plays offensively. I know defensively he's a liability, but offensively it's straight points from him, whether it's him scoring or whether he's assisting it. He's been so good. At number 14, and this hurts me because I am a Warriors fan, but we have Stephen Curry. The Warriors haven't been great. It's not really because of Steph Curry. It's not his fault, but they haven't been great. And we're talking about players that impact winning. I mean, Curry obviously does that, but when you look at the Warriors record, it's not the best. He's put up 27, 4 and 4 on really good efficiencies, but there's a lot of players above him in this list that are just winning more and also putting up crazy numbers. Like the guy I'm putting at 13, who's having a low-key insane season, Kawhi Leonard, averaging 24, 6 and 4 assists on insane shooting numbers. He's almost 50, 40, 90. Kawhi shooting 43% from the 3, and Kawhi has missed how many games? Maybe 2 or 3 games this season. He's been there, and that's the concern. Injury, he's been out there, and the Clippers are like 19 and 12. At 12, we have a player who I originally had below Curry. I just bumped him up because the Celtics are the #1 team in the NBA, and Tatum is the leader of that team. Tatum's putting up 27, 8 and 4 on solid efficiency. He's solid on defense as well. Just a great, well-rounded player, and he's a leader of the #1 team in the NBA right now. And the leader of the #1 team in the Western Conference is Anthony Edwards, who I have at 11 in my rankings, just outside the top 10, putting up 26 points per game, 6 boards, 5 assists on great efficiencies, and he's solid on defense. Still inside the top 10 at age 39, we have LeBron James, putting up 25, 8 and 7 on insane efficiencies. LeBron is shooting better than Curry this season. He's shooting 41% from 3. He's been really solid in his quote unquote limited minutes. His minutes did drop a little bit this year, but they were supposed to drop even lower. He's been solid. They just won the in-season tournament. That's got to factor in a little bit for this, because again, this list is just for this season. That's got to factor in. I have LeBron James at number 10. He's a debatable one. I know some people, especially Lakers fan, are going to be like, oh, he should be number 5. He should be number 6. And then there's going to be other people that are like, nah, he should be like 15 or 20. I got him at 10. I think it's the perfect spot. Small guards are tough to rank inside the top 10. They're tough to put as the best players of anything because they're not really good at defense. But De'Aaron Fox has been that good, averaging over 30 points per game, 5 boards, 6 assists on insane efficiency, shooting over 40% from the 3. De'Aaron Fox has been absolutely leading this Kings team, and I got him at number 9. I don't know if that's crazy, but Fox has been insane this year. At number 8, I have one of the best guards in the NBA this season. We have Tyrese Halliburton, who's averaging 25 points per game. No one really saw that coming. 4 boards and 12.4 assists per game, leading the entire NBA by like 1.5 assists on insane efficiencies. 50% from the field, 42% from 3, 85% from the line. Halliburton offensively is one of the best players in the entire NBA. I know he's nothing crazy defensively. If he was good defensively, I mean, he'd probably be like top 5, top 4, but I got him at number 8. At number 7, I have a player that I personally think is insane this year, and I have him at number 7. I have him very high. I was talking to some people, they said he should be lower on the list, so he's a debatable one. We have Anthony Davis, who's been very healthy this year. Has he missed a game? Maybe one. He's averaging 25 points per game, 12.3 rebounds per game. He's insane defensively. He's gonna be a huge factor on both sides of the ball, but it's hard to put him higher because the top 5, I mean, I'm not putting him in the top 5. Those players are locked in, and there's one other guy outside of the top 5 that I barely give the edge over Davis. And that player, and I don't think Lakers fans or AD fans can be mad about this, is Kevin Durant, who was averaging 30 points per game, I believe, so that number just dropped down. 29.8, 6.3 boards, 6.1 assists this season for Durant is crazy, but look at the numbers. 52% from the field, 48% from the 3. And KD shoots a decent amount of threes. 48% from 3 is insane. 87% from the free throw line. He's played in 27 games where, you know, Beal's missed, Booker's missed. This is a team that's dealt with some injuries. KD's really keeping him afloat this year. He's just having an insane season, maybe his best. It's crazy that I have 4 players above Giannis in my top 100 player or my top 5 player rankings, but that's just how good the elite talent is in the NBA. Giannis at number 5, averaging 31 points per game, 11 boards, 5.5 assists, solid shoot number, 60% from the field, and he's crazy defensively on the number 2 team in the East, but I think there's 4 players that have been having a better season than him. At number 4, we have a guy that's having an MVP caliber season. SGA's averaging 31.5 points per game with 6 boards per game, 6 assists on good efficiency. And what makes him so great is his defense. If you look at all the defensive metrics, steals, he's leading that by like a whole steal per game. He's, you know, you look at deflections, I think he's first in that. You look at all these defensive stats, he's top 5, top 10 in all of them. He's just having an all-time season, leading the Thunder to the number 2 team in the West. No one expected that. Maybe you thought the Thunder could be solid, you know, in the play-in, but number 2, SGA's having a crazy year, and it's crazy to say that he's having a better season than Giannis, looking at Giannis's numbers, but he is. How do you put a guy having a season like Luka's at number 3? I mean, seriously, look at the numbers. 34 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 9 assists per game on solid efficiency, 49% from the field, 38 from 3, 79 from the free throw line. He's single-handedly carrying the Mavs to the 6th seed in the West when they really shouldn't be there. Kyrie Irving's missed half the season. The rest of that roster is nothing crazy. Luka's carrying his team. He's not the best defensively like a Shea, but his offensive numbers are better than Shea's. It's tough to rank him. I have Luka at 3. That leaves 2 players left in the top 100 ranking. At number 2, I have Nikola Jokic on the 3rd best team in the West. They'll probably be 1 soon if you give him, you know, a few more weeks. Jokic is averaging 26 points per game, 12.3 rebounds per game, 9.2 assists per game. He's almost averaging a triple-double on solid efficiency. He's good defensively, and it's Jokic. I mean, there's not much you got to say about it. 2-time MVP, probably should have 3-peated last year, but that's up for debate. There's only one guy in the NBA that's better than him. If you want to put Luka ahead of Jokic, I wouldn't be too mad at it, but this guy in first place is first place, and I don't think it's really debatable. At number 1, we have Joel Embiid, who's having one of the craziest seasons that I've ever seen. He's averaging 35 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, 6 assists. I mean, when has Embiid been passing like this? And he's on good efficiencies. There's only been one player through a full season that has put up these numbers, 35 and basically 12 rebounds, 11 if you want to round down, it still applies. Wilt Chamberlain is the only player that has put up 35 and 11 through a full season. I think Elgin Baylor was close one year, or he basically had it, but he played like 40 something games. Embiid carrying the Sixers to the 3rd seed in the East. The only thing that Embiid's really missing is a ring, or at least proving himself in the playoffs. He hasn't done that. If he can do that, he will just cement himself all time in the all-time rankings, probably top 20, top 25, because the season he's having now, the season he had last year, is literally insane. It's unheard of. I already know you guys are gonna go crazy in the comments. This guy should have been higher. This guy should have been lower. This guy was snubbed from the list. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm gonna be replying to pretty much all of them. I know it's gonna turn into a debate down there. If you guys made it to this part of the video, sub up though, because we're about to hit 800 subs. This video took me over a few weeks to really compile this list and put each person in each spot. It's tough when you have players that play different positions, players that have missed games. It's just, there's a lot that goes into it. Sub if you guys haven't, drop a like, turn on noties, and click the video popping up on your screen right here if you haven't seen it yet.